Hello everyone, Regnilla here with another episode of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Last time, I don't remember what we did last time. It's been a couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, this is a post-production Regnilla speaking, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys are wondering, where the hell have you been? Well, I've been busy. On top of technical difficulties, school, and all that, it's been really difficult to make videos at all. So, just to give you guys an update, in case you didn't read the post that I did a few days back, my gaming computer, which I record all the Monster Hunter Freedom Unite stuff, the Team Fortress 2 stuff, all that, it just took a massive dump. It did this thing where it would start up and it would say diagnosing Windows and then says attempting automatic repair, and it just kept doing this over and over and over. I couldn't reset any of the properties. I couldn't go back to a restore point, so instead I had to reinstall the entire operating system. So fun. And then on top of that, I tried using my microphones, and through Audacity they're still having problems there too. So usually, even though if you're recording a single microphone, you're supposed to record in mono, for whatever reason, before all this happened, I could still record a single microphone in stereo. Now that I have everything reset on the gaming PC, now I have to record in mono, and I don't understand why. So, it's just one problem after another. So with any luck, my microphone won't have any more issues during the time of this recording, because I'd really rather not set this back any further. But aside from that, let's talk about the quest that's going on here, which is the Troublesome Pair. This is a Rathalos and a Ratheon, and these are two monsters that we might have gotten glimpses at if you're doing, like, especially the egg quests or something like that, but we never really had a chance to face off against them. And so for an urgent quest, we have to fight them both pretty much at the same time, which is basically a death wish. And so one of the reasons why I'm doing a commentary post-production as opposed to in how I usually do it, which is in the moment, I didn't quite like the commentary that came around during recording, so I decided to just do it all over again. Plus, the Rathalos made a bit of a liar out of me, and I'm still kind of bitter about that. And what I had initially said is that when a Rathalos goes into rage mode, he will fly back and fire off a fireball, which he refused to do in this quest. So I'm now convinced that was sort of a Generation 3 onward kind of deal. So let's talk about these two and what they're like. So, Rathalos is considered the king of the sky, and the Rathian is considered the queen of the land. And this should give you a clear indication of how these two will fight. So, Rathalos will primarily take to the skies, while the Rathian, she's more land focused. It doesn't make either one less threatening though. So, with the Rathalos specifically, I believe he has less health than a Rathian in Generation 2. I know for a fact in Generation 1 the Rathian had more health, especially since, well, you faced the Rathian later in Generation 1, which was kind of weird. So for this particular quest, I decided to go after Rathalos mainly because I didn't know who I was going to be facing when I reached Area 4. And usually a rule of thumb I have in the Forest and Hills, if you're facing off against any large monster that's, say, bigger than the size of a Kutku, you don't want to take on an Area 9. Area 9 is really narrow, so it's hard to get around. And so this right here, kind of out in the open, is just perfect. And as you can see, I've been using flash bombs when Rathalos goes into the air. Whenever the Rathalos goes into the air, there's a few things that he can do. Usually he will try to fire a fireball at you. It could be either anywhere between 1 to 3. Or the other thing that he can do, and the reason why I go directly underneath him every time he goes up in the air, he will try to attack with his claws. If he hits with his claws, it's a guaranteed poison. So if you're directly underneath the Rathalos when he's going to go do that attack, he's not going to go anywhere. So that's a nice thing to keep in mind. And so when the Rathalos is on his way down, that's when I start to throw a flash bomb. And that will just keep him grounded, and it allows for some free hits. And this is a scenario that I really did not want to face, but I was stubborn, and I was like, oh, no big deal, I can handle it. So Rathalos and Ratheon are both here. And I'm not going to lie, I am going to get carded at some point. So there's that to consider. But this is really dangerous because they're just, combined, they are a pretty nasty threat. It's easy to avoid a monster in the sky, and it's easy to avoid a monster on the land. It's kind of difficult if they're doing both at the same time. And so there's actually a lot of details with both these monsters, so I don't think I can get all the details in for this video. So I'll just try to get with the major talking points here. In scenarios like this where you're facing off against two monsters at once, and you really don't want to face two monsters at once, the best thing to do is carry dung bombs on you. And so if you throw a dung bomb at a monster, you're literally hurling a glob of shit at something, and they don't want to stick around. So that's always a good idea to carry. But I wasn't thinking that I'd be fighting these two at once, so I was like, yeah, screw it. And I suffered the consequences. And always carry flash bombs. Just want to point that out. Get flash bombs, get materials to make more flash bombs, and then get even more materials to make more flash bombs. You cannot go wrong with flash bombs. I also brought traps as well as an armor skin and a demon drug, which unfortunately when I get carded here, I'm going to lose both of those buffs. And let's see, well, might as well go over the breakable parts, and it's going to be shared throughout both these monsters. You can break their face, you can break each wing, and you can cut off their tail. The rarest drops for these two, and I believe it's village quest and low rank only, is a Rathalos and Ratheon plate respectively. So that's about maybe, I think, a 1% chance under normal circumstances, and oh, there I go. Also, don't run out of stamina. That's also a no bueno thing. But anywho, when you're facing both these monsters at the same time, then the odds of you getting those rarer drops actually increases. So with a plate, it could be, I was saying 1% earlier, could depending on if you capture it, break the head, or try to carve the tail, or just a quest reward, it could be anywhere between 1 to 3% total. And that's just kind of the lower estimates. It's hard to get those particular items, and to make matters worse, in order to complete, I believe, both Rathalos and Ratheon sets, you need their plates. Oh, and here I go with fast forward. So what I'm doing here is I'm waiting for the monsters to spread out, and so, you know, that way I'm not taking them both at the same time again. And I believe this is the Rathalos. Kind of hard to see. I had the playback on my video editor, so I can't really see as much of the screen as normal. Alright, yeah, it is Rathalos. With Ratheon, man, Ratheon, she can be a real pain. You notice that when she was doing a charge attack earlier, she was able to home in a little bit, so the AI isn't as incompetent as one might think. So she could do a triple charge attack, which, oh god, and that's one of the things that made me cart. So yay. You don't want to get stuck in a tight space with a charging Rathian. And she also has a triple fireball attack, which is brutal if you get hit by. But I think one of her most painful attacks to be hit by is her backflip, where one of the few times that you will see her go in the air during a fight, you don't want to be near her when she's in the air. Otherwise, she might do a backflip and try to hit you with her tail, which, much like the Rathalos claws, is a guaranteed poison if you're hit. And I believe at this point the Rathian is going to start going into Area 9. And during recording, I wanted to prove a point about what fighting in Area 9 is like. Oh yeah, there she goes. And she's off. So, Area 9, like I said earlier, is very narrow, and it's not conducive for fighting. It's more like, I kind of want to say something for exploring. And so I was thinking that maybe I could wait her out a little bit, but I get impatient, so like, nah. And this area is also interesting because it's one of the few times where you'll see a Rathalos and Ratheon eat from a carcass or drink over in this little cove right here, and trying to get her attention and lead her over to the other side of Area 9 where there's a better chance of being able to take her on. Unfortunately, the AI it's either really smart or really dumb. There's really no middle ground sometimes. And yeah, she's mad. So the weak point for both these monsters is the head. And since I have an electric weapon, that's what I'm sticking to using. The other thing that they're weak to is dragon weapons. And at this point in the game, I believe you can get one dragon weapon, especially if you're a longsword user, but that requires the dark stone and dark pieces from the giant sword that's in the farm. And it's kind of difficult to get all the pieces that you need within a couple of tries, because you need elder dragon bones. The first one is free, but after that you need to go off and get some bones, which requires facing off against, well, elder dragons, and that could be a challenge. And if you haven't been keeping up with my plan, is I want to have some better weapons and armor before taking on any more elder dragons. I think the first one was Cruciala de Ora, and that one was pretty challenging, so I just want something a little bit better before I start taking on the big guys. But speaking of elder dragons, that's something that I'm considering doing for the more advanced monsters. So let's see, Lao Shan Lung, for example. That is, I think you can face him in the village, but I know I have a file available where I can just challenge him whenever I want. And I'm thinking about doing videos for higher rank monsters like that, because as much as I like Freedom Unite, it can get really brutal sometimes, and it requires more and more grinding. So instead of like going through all the Nikko quests, it might be better for me to kind of pick and choose some of the monsters that that would be more exclusive to high rank and do a video on them, as opposed to just keep doing quests until I eventually reach the monsters I want to do videos on. And let's see how much time we got left in this video. Oh, not much. So this Rathian is getting close to being Dunskies. And much like with flash bombs and other items, another item that you want to keep around are traps. Traps are a hunter's best friend, especially in Area 9. Man, it's really not a good idea to ever fight here. Oh, and at this point she's weak, trying to get away. Both these monsters will attempt to rest in Area 5. And a lot of the times they will go to Area 4 first before going on to Area 5. Sometimes they'll bypass it and go straight to Area 5, but in most cases they'll go to Area 4 first. But yeah, so that was the Troublesome Pair. I'll try to go in greater detail once I'm facing off against these two individually. As a matter of fact, I believe I did 2 videos during that recording session, and the other one was for the Azure Rathalos, which I think it's the only time at this stage in the game where you're facing off against a Rathalos solo. Which, that's unfortunate, because the solo Rathalos is a freaking subspecies. But anyways, for a new player, this can make you fail a few times. And that's to be expected. I mean, you're facing off against two pretty powerful wyverns that they don't like you. They just don't. But for the new hunters, I would give them, I'd say, between 25 to 30 minutes if these two are giving you a hard time. But for a more professional hunter, probably between 10 to 20, something like that. But anyways, that's going to do it for me and this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in any of my other content, be sure to hit on one of the annotations that'll be featured at the end of this video, or if you want to support the channel, subscribing is always a big help. But until next time, I will see you in the next video. Take care, people.